Hello and welcome to this release overview for Cisco Secure Firewall Threat Defense version 7.7. In this session, I'm going to cover some of the key release highlights. For more technical details on the features associated with this release, please look out for additional content on our YouTube channel, as well as on the Firewall Essentials portal at secure.cisco.com. Also be sure to review the version 7.7 release notes before upgrading your deployments. In this release, we have a new hardware range to complement the 1200 series compact appliance released towards the end of last year. We're making our Encrypted Visibility Engine even better by automating decryption decisions. Our remote access VPN solution now allows connections to be restricted based on location or region. And we've streamlined the process for upgrading devices and made rooting out problems easier. Hot on the tail of the 1200 series compact model, released towards the end of 2024, we now have 3 new models in the 1200 series. These are rack mount options, so can be installed in standard network racks and come with up to 18 gigabits per second throughput. As with the compact version, these appliances come with system-on-a-chip architectures with embedded accelerators for encryption, decryption, and advanced traffic processing. Here's a reminder of the wider firewall portfolio. You can see where the 1200 series rack mount fits in, as well as the wide coverage of deployment options and form factors enabling firewalling as part of a hybrid mesh. We have devices that span from the ground to the cloud, all that can be managed centrally via on-premises Firewall Management Center or cloud-hosted management via Cisco Security Cloud Control. Encrypted Visibility Engine uses machine learning to give customers the ability to see within encrypted traffic flows to identify and control applications and malicious activity, all without the need to perform resource-intensive decryption. But there is still a requirement for security admins to decrypt certain flows, for example in highly sensitive or critical environments. With the 7.7 release, we have enabled the ability to be selective about which traffic can bypass for decryption based on information collected by the Encrypted Visibility Engine and Talos, Cisco's security intelligence team. Traffic that is defined as high risk is automatically blocked. Traffic identified by Encrypted Visibility Engine as low risk can automatically bypass decryption to help further reduce the burden on performance and administrators. Everything else in between can be sent for decryption and inspection as needed. This happens automatically, allowing administrators to focus on critical flows and events within their environment. For situations that require compliance with organizational or governance policies, the Cisco Secure Firewall Threat Defense can now enforce access to protected resources based upon the originating location of the user. New service access objects allow rules to be created that can permit or deny remote access requests based on specific countries, groups of countries, or entire continents. This, in addition to posture assessment, strong multi-factor authentication, and continuous advanced inspection, makes the secure firewall a significant resource when securing remote access connections. In every release of our software, we are always looking at ways to simplify workflows and obtain operational enhancements. This release is no different. From an operational perspective, we know that upgrades can be one of the most challenging aspects of administrating a firewall solution. That's why we've reduced the workflow required to perform an upgrade by 50%. By optimizing code and changing the way we establish readiness, upgrades for typical deployments can now be completed in under 30 minutes. We also understand that in a cloud-first world, access to cloud services is critical. But what happens when the cloud you are using to manage your firewall devices is no longer available? Historically, firewalls would continue to operate using the last deployed configuration. Now, a recovery command line can be used to make offline changes so that you can recover from an outage or defend an attack. And once cloud communications are resumed, the Firewall Management Center will identify changes made offline and allow them to be reconciled. Finally, to further extend our support offering, we've enabled integration with the Cisco Remote Automation Development Kit, or RAD Kit. This enables controlled access to Firewall Management Center and/or firewall devices from, for example, a Cisco TAC engineer. Additionally, it allows us to leverage automation capabilities for collecting diagnostics, data, and analysis. Aside from the release highlights just covered, there are several other features and functions that have been added as part of the 7.7 release that fall into these categories. I won't be going into every one in detail, so as always, I ask that you read the release notes to get a full view of everything included within this release. Some of the Firewall Management Center changes are that in a multi-domain deployment, you can now restrict Management Center SAML single sign-on logins to a subdomain, which provides more user granularity and identity control. For FMC high availability, it's now easier to compare rule and vulnerability databases, as well as determine when HAP is last synchronized. We've also added new user interface functionality to streamline device registration workflows. And it's now possible to migrate from the FMC 4600 hardware appliance to the Secure Firewall Management Center Virtual 300 platform using the FMC Model Migration tool. It's now possible to change the login banner as well as replace the image or logo on screen for devices managed locally using the Firewall Device Manager. This is to support the needs of regulatory compliance scenarios. Hardware bypass interfaces for inline sets help to provide uninterrupted network connectivity in the event of a power or appliance failure, and this is supported on the 1000 and 3100 series appliances. On the 4200 series appliances, we've introduced support for the 2x400 and 4x200 gigabits per second net mods. Some additional platform enhancements worth mentioning are NIC serviceability improvements that helped reduce mean time to repair, Secure Firewall 4200 performance improvements, and IPv4 dynamic flow offload support for Secure Firewall 31 and 4200 series. New options in the decryption policy wizard make it easier to block traffic based on TLS version and server certificate status. Enabling these options adds predefined rules which you can edit, reorder or delete once the policy is created. To make viewing events generated by the Encrypted Visibility Engine easier, we've included details on the main summary dashboard, which is the default homepage for the FMC. We've also introduced a new widget that shows the malicious processes that have been discovered by Eve. Version 7.7 expands on our built-in SD-WAN functionality with dual WAN support for FTD high availability. This allows you to enable FMC communication over primary and secondary WAN links. FTD HA devices are registered to the FMC using data interfaces. If the primary connection fails, the secondary connection is automatically used, and all of this is seamless and without user intervention. BGP AS overrides allow large-scale dynamic routing deployments to utilize overlapping or duplicate autonomous system numbers. AS override was first introduced in version 7.6 for SD-WAN deployments only. Starting with the 7.7 release, AS override support is available for all deployments. BGP AS overrides allows the firewall to replace autonomous system numbers in route updates with its own AS number before continuing, allowing the receiving peer to accept route updates. For your remote access VPN deployments, it's now even easier to add posture assessment criteria using dynamic access policies. Endpoints can be validated using file, registry or process information to determine the level of access granted to protected resources. Finally, in public cloud we have support for the following instance types and sizes: C6i and C6a in Amazon Web Services, DV4 and DV5 in Microsoft Azure, and E2, N1, N2D and C2D in Google Cloud Platform. Customers using Microsoft Azure can also now use the benefits of autoscale with firewall clusters, allowing deployments to automatically meet the demands of the environment. Just a reminder that there is more content available on our Secure Firewall YouTube channel, so please take a look and subscribe to be kept up to date. And we also have the Secure Firewall Essentials portal, which highlights a best practice approach to secure firewall configuration. The portal also includes documentation, step-by-step configuration guidance, firewall use cases, and deployment guides. That brings us to the end of this release overview for version 7.7. Don't forget to check out the release notes for more information, as well as the additional content streams discussed. Thank you, and see you next time.